In 2025, data security is more important now than it ever has been before, and quite a lot of people are starting to catch on to this. VPN usage is up dramatically. Now, there is a catch. Just because you've decided to use a commercial VPN doesn't necessarily mean that your data is safe. You don't have control over any of the endpoints that are involved, and realistically, especially if you're using a free VPN, well, they've got to be making their money somehow, haven't they? So rather than relying on a commercial VPN that is either charging you money or maybe even more worryingly isn't charging you any money, instead I'm going to show you how you can host your own VPN and take control over your data security.
And if you're already looking at paying for a VPN, well, you might even save a bit of money.
Now, in order to get started with this guide, you're going to need two things primarily. You're going to need a computer that you can access a virtual private server from, and you're going to need a virtual private server, ideally running Linux, because that's what I'm going to be showing you today. Now, when it comes to virtual private servers, I'm going to be using one from Fasthosts, and I'm going to show you how you can purchase a VPS and also how you can select its operating system and location to make sure that you're getting the right platform for your VPN. So, first things first, let's go to the Fasthosts website. And as you can see on the right-hand side of the page, I'm already logged in. So when I go to purchase the service, it's just going to add it to my account. If you're not already logged in, don't panic. When you start to add the service, it's going to then help you create an account as well. So what we're going to do is look at some virtual private servers. Now, listed here are some of our normal standard range VPS servers, and all of these are perfectly valid for running a VPN. We also offer a mini VPS exclusively via the link that is shown in the description below. And this should also be more than enough to run a VPN for one or two devices. So if you want something that's a little bit smaller and you're only running a couple of devices on it, then absolutely go for that one. Go click the link down below and have a look at the mini VPS range. They're also running Linux, so everything I'm going to show you today should work. They are running Debian, so the commands are going to be slightly different, but all in all, the same processes are going to apply. So I'm going to go for a VPS here. I'm going to go for a VPS 4 just because I'm also going to be doing other things with this VPS as well down the road, so I may as well buy a bigger VPS and host everything there. So you can see here that we can select the operating system, and in this case, I'm going to leave it on Ubuntu 24.04, just because that's the most up-to-date on Ubuntu. It's receiving updates and will do for many years to come, so that's what I'm going to go with today. And also you can see here that we have a drop-down for locations. At the moment, it's based in the UK, which under normal circumstances would be fine, but if you want to use this VPN to access the internet as if you're from another location, then you'd want to select a different country. As you can see, we've got a few options here. We could choose Germany, Spain, or we could even choose the US. In my case, I'm going to choose US as my option, so I'm going to give that a click. And then I'm going to continue with the purchase process. So I'm going to leave you here for you to go through that. Obviously, if you don't have an account, it's going to take you through that process as well. Once that's all done, make sure you're logged into your account and go to the VPS page, and you should see your VPS right there in that product page waiting for you. I'll meet you there and we'll get started with that VPN. Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And we are now at the point of where we can actually start to create our VPN. So what we need to do first is actually log into our new virtual private server. So to do that, we need to use an SSH client. Now, if you're on Mac or already running a Linux device, then you could just use the terminal application that is already installed on your devices. If you're on Windows, you could use a terminal if you want to, but actually I'd recommend using something called PuTTY instead, just because it simplifies the process.
To download PuTTY, simply type it into Google, and what we're actually looking for here is this link, the www.shark.greenend.org.uk. That's the link we want. We don't want this link. This is not affiliated with PuTTY in any way. So we're going to click on this link. That's going to take us through to this fairly ancient looking page, but I promise you this is the correct page. Click on download it here, and then click on one of the installers or binary files here, depending on what you need.
So once that's done, once you've installed PuTTY and you've got it up and running, now we need to look at the connection info for our virtual private server. So go back to your Fasthosts control panel, go to your virtual private server page, and as long as it's set up and ready to go and it's not got a spinning wheel next to it, then give the name a click, and that's going to take you right through to the server control panel. Click on your server again, just to open up the information. And you can see here that it's showing us a range of info, but the main bit we want is that login data up at the top. So copy that host value, the IP address that's shown there. Make sure you copy that. go back into PuTTY, go into that text box, and paste that IP address there. And then click on Connect. That's then going to open up a terminal interface where it started to connect to the server. It's probably also going to tell you that it's not recognizing the server you're connecting to. That's absolutely fine. That's just because you're obviously connecting to it for the first time. So if it asks you to confirm or enter the word yes, then do so. Go through that connection process, and then it should ask you for a username. For that, you just type in root, which is obviously the user that's shown on your connection information. Then press enter. It's going to ask you for a password. Go to the password section on your server control panel. Copy that value, and then what you'll need to do is then in PuTTY, make sure you're clicked into PuTTY and then right click. That's then going to paste that value for you. Don't do like Control V or anything like that because that doesn't work in PuTTY. If you right click, that will paste the password for you. It's not going to show any characters, but it has done it. Believe me, that's just how passwords are not shown in Linux. Then press enter. That's then going to connect you through to your server. And you'll know that you're connected through to your server because at the bottom of the text that's just appeared in your terminal, it should say root at Ubuntu. Basically, that means, yes, you're into your server. You can start interacting with your server. Brilliant. So the first thing that we want to do is type in apt update. And don't worry, I'll paste all these commands down below. Once you've done that, it's then going to just scan all of the repositories to see if there are any updates for the local operating system. You definitely want to do this for every new server. You want to make sure it's up to date because that means all the security patches have all been done, everything like that. Once you've done that, it should tell you if there's any packages that need to be upgraded. And if there are, then you then type in apt upgrade. Then that's going to install all of those packages for you. If it needs it may need your input to type in Y at some point, just say yes to continue. You can also end the apt upgrade with -Y if you just want it to just go through automatically and do everything. So once that's done, you've then got a up-to-date server that's ready to go. So the next thing that we need to do is actually start the installation process for our VPN software. Now, the software that I'm going to use in order to get this all going is WireGuard. WireGuard is a open source software that allows us to set up a VPN, which is exactly what we want to do. Now, we could install WireGuard manually. It's a bit of a process. So instead, we're going to use the community resources that are available and use the WireGuard installation script. So to do that, go to the link down in the description for the GitHub page, and you'll see there the GitHub page for the WireGuard installer. Now, it's worth noting at this point that yes, this GitHub script has plenty of commendations. It's really highly regarded in the WireGuard community. However, this goes for anything that you're doing with GitHub. There's always an element of risk when it comes to just running some random script that you found on GitHub. So just keep that in mind. In this case, that risk is fairly low because it is a highly recommended script, but it is just something to keep in mind. So if we scroll through, you can see here there's a brief description of what the WireGuard installer is. And WireGuard is a point-to-point VPN, and it can be used in different ways. Basically, what this script is going to do is turn that manual installation process that we'd have to go through and turn it into a wizard type process where it kind of takes us through step by step and asks us the information rather than us having to input anything, which is just a much cleaner way of doing everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to the usage section, and we're going to copy that curl command. And what that's doing is installing the WireGuard installation script. It's giving it some permissions as well when it installs so that it can then immediately activate and start doing stuff for us. And then also that little bit at the end where it says // and then WireGuard install.sh. That's it running the script immediately. So we're going to copy that, and we are going to put that into our terminal. Press enter. And there you go. It installed like basically immediately because it is just code at the end of the day. So it's very small file size, and it's already running the installation script. So it's telling us basically it needs to ask a few questions. So for most of these questions, actually the default value is absolutely fine. So for example, the IPv4 or IPv6 public address, that is showing our VPS public IP. So that's absolutely fine. That's the one we want. Just double check that and make sure it's the right one. But in our case, it is. So I can press enter. Public interface, basically just the interface that the network connectivity is running through on your server. The default value should be absolutely fine. If for whatever reason this doesn't work, it might be because that value was picked up incorrectly. You need to double check that. But in my case, that is definitely the one. WireGuard interface name, you can change that if you want to, but I'm not going to. WireGuard IPv4, So basically, this is setting up the local IP range that is going to be used for any devices that connect to your VPN. Same for IPv6 as well, so you can leave that as default. Server WireGuard port. So make sure that you make a note of this. It's probably going to be different for you when you come through and do this installation. So make sure that you just make a note of what that port number is, because we're going to need to open that on our VPS. So press enter. First DNS resolver for use for the client. In my case, I'm leaving that as it is. And I'm going to leave the secondary DNS resolver as is as well. Now it's telling me that it uses a parameter called allowed IP to determine what's routed over the VPN. That's absolutely fine. We want that to happen, so that's all good. And okay, now it's saying that's all it needed, and it's now going to set up the WireGuard server for me. So I'm just going to press any key, and it started that process. So now that's done. It really was as quick as that. There's no editing involved. That was just how quickly it happened. So now I'm going to type in a client name. Let's just call this my phone. So that's going to be the device I'm going to add. I'm going to leave the, like I was talking about the IPv4 and how it's going to increment up automatically. I could set another value in there if I wanted to, like end it with 10 or something, whatever I wanted really. Don't have to, and there's no reason to change it. So I'm going to click enter. Going to leave the IPv6 as it is as well. And there we go. It's now telling me in that green text that WireGuard is running. So we actually have a VPN active right now. It really was that quick. So we're also seeing, before you saw that text down there, you probably noticed the giant QR code is also just displayed as well. And this is actually a really easy way that we can just set up a device straight away. Now, it's worth noting you don't have to do a mobile device. You can set this up. You can basically take that config file that it's telling you there. It's telling you where it's put that config file for the client. And you can take that over and put that onto the device that you want to use to connect to your VPN. So you could take that file and put it onto your local computer, for example, download the WireGuard client, which I'm going to show you how to do in a minute, and then make sure it's just referencing that file. And again, you'd be absolutely fine. It'll run absolutely okay. So we're now actually at the point where we need to set up the client, so the device I'm going to connect to my VPN with. So I'm going to do this on my phone. So let me just start screen recording. Okay, there we go. So I'm now recording my Android screen. So that's what you're going to see on screen right now. And what we need to do is install the WireGuard client. So you can go into Play Store, and you can see I've already looked it up. All you got to just do is type in WireGuard. And that's the app there, right there, with that symbol, that logo rather. So make sure you installed that. I already have. So I'm going to open that. And this is the first page that you'll see. You won't have a VPN at the top like me, just because I was doing some testing. But all we need to do now is press the plus symbol at the bottom. And we're going to choose to scan from QR code. Now, obviously, you could import from file or archive as well. So that's, that is that config file. If we were to go through the process of taking that config file, pulling it onto my phone, I could do it that way as well if I wanted to. But might as well just do the QR code instead. Scan QR code. Let's just scan that on my screen. There we go. And let's just give it a name. Oh, there we go. Fasthosts VPN. Create tunnel. Okay, so now we've set that client up that easily. That is now going to be able to connect through to my VPN. There's now actually only one thing we need to do, and that's just make sure that the ports are all open for the VPN so that it's all going to be able to connect nicely. So let's go back to our server page. Back on our Fasthosts control panel. So you want to go back to the page where you saw the login data for your server. And then what you want to do is go to the left-hand side in network, go to firewall policies, open up the firewall policy that's active for your server, which is it's just going to be that top one there, always is going to be. What we now need to do is enter in that port number that was shown earlier on, which hopefully you made a note of. If you didn't, then what you can do is scroll up your terminal back a few blocks. If you see the questions that were being asked, and you're looking for, where it's asking, what's your public IP address, what's your public interface, etc. And the server WireGuard port should be shown right there. Obviously, if you make a note of it, that makes this whole process a lot easier. You don't have to go back through your terminal. But there you go. If you go back into your server control panel, paste the server port. I'm just going to call that WireGuard 2. Just going to call that WireGuard. And then I'm going to press add rule. Now, all we're now doing is waiting for the firewall to update. So that's just going to update on the firewall server. But once that status has turned green, and sometimes it's worth refreshing the page just to make sure it hasn't gone stuck somewhere. Once that is showing as sorted, we can then actually start testing out our VPN, which is very exciting. So yep, there we go. It's now established. It's a UDP connection, which means that connectivity to our VPN server should be good to go. I'm going to go back on my mobile device. I'm going to go back to WireGuard, and I can see that my Fasthosts VPN is there. If I press the connect button, if I just double check, I can see that the key symbol is there. It's very small there. Hopefully I can blow that up a little bit on screen. I'm not directly connecting to any internet service. I'm going through a VPN. So let's give that a test. Let's refresh. What is my IP address? And as you can see on screen, it's telling me that the IPv4 is somewhere south of Philadelphia. Now, just to be absolutely crystal clear, I am not just south of Philadelphia. I am located in currently slightly sunny Gloucester at the Fasthosts office. So that indicates to me that this VPN is absolutely working, which is absolutely fantastic. And it really is as easy as that. It did not take long at all, and it's a very simple process. So hopefully you're now feeling much more confident now that you have full control of your internet traffic and that traffic is secure and encrypted. I hope that's all helped, and bye for now.